Hey everybody, I'm Scott. It's fundraising time again at antiwar.com. We need your help, and here's how you can help. Stop by antiwar.com/donate or call Angela Keaton, our development director, at 323-512-7095. That's 323-512-7095, or you can shoot her an email over to akeaton@antiwar.com.
Thank you very much for your support.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. It's Anti-War Radio. Check out this website, giveusnames.com. One of the people involved is a gentleman by the name of Zack Mellette. Welcome to the show, Zack. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. So anyway, giveusnames.com is about Colombia, and I guess you guys are making movies, short films, about individuals down there in Colombia, but on what basis?
Yeah, we're basically working with a production company to film a series of short documentaries, and basically looking at displacement as a whole and breaking it down into some of the different elements that are causing displacement.
Displacement, as in, you mean people forced from their homes?
Yes, people who've been forced from their homes, either by armed actors or different policies that we're examining that are causing people to lose their livelihoods and have to flee, their homes and their land. And we're kind of breaking it down to show it through the eyes of individuals and families, as opposed to trying to tackle the whole issue at one time.
And so the video that's on the front page of giveusnames.com right now is that's basically the promo for kind of the beginning of what y'all are going to try to put together, right? Yeah. Right now it's a 3-minute piece that we put together from footage from our trip, I guess last winter in December, and just kind of goes into just lightly touches on some of the issues that we're going to be further examining in each individual documentary. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just that little 3-minute promo is enough to certainly pique my interest. It's a pretty sad story. Some of the stuff that the people described there is pretty hardcore. One guy said, this is my land. I had horses, I had pigs, I had cows, I had crops, and they came and they said, well, we'll either buy your land for this pittance or we'll buy your widow even cheaper than that, pal. And he said, okay, goodbye. And that's pretty rough. Who was it, though? I was telling him he's got to go. What you have different armed actors who are at play. You have the FARC, or the leftist guerrillas, and then you also have the right-wing paramilitaries, which the FARC, have their ideals of, they've been fighting a revolution for 40 years. They essentially want to overthrow the government. But then, on the right-wing side with the paramilitaries, you have hired hands who, use force to control resources and to do some of the stuff like land grabbing, and also, involved with the narcotics trade. Mm-hmm. So you have the left-wing rebels, the right-wing reactionary paramilitary death squad types, and then you just have the drug businessmen, and all these people are preying on the average peasant in Colombia. Right, and, through all this, it's just the average working family who's just trying to provide food for their family that takes the brunt of the violence and really gets the bad end of it. Well, now, what does this have to do with any of us? I mean, it's not like the United States government has ever intervened in Colombia in any way, right? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the unknown, one of the really big unknown policies that the U.S. is carrying out. And outside the Middle East, Colombia receives the most military aid in the world. And through our Plan Colombia, which was enacted in '98, we've been fighting the war on drugs, and to the tune of $7.5 billion roughly, that we've been sending down to fortified military to stop cocaine production is what our goal was for that. Well, and how's that working out? Partnership for Drug-Free America? Are we drug-free yet? Or? Yeah, I mean, you can look around and see like the effect it's having here. you can look down to Mexico and see how that's getting played out now as well. It's hard to get the exact figures from the government because everything is really twisted and distorted. And, well, we've eradicated this much coca land, but coca production has increased still because the farmers are now consolidating a lot of their coca fields. But really, from our research, we've seen that it really hasn't stopped cocaine production at all, and has really had a lot of negative effects outside of even really the cocaine trade.
Well, so what's it really all about? Is there it's oil or other resources, tin, copper, something like that in Colombia, or it's just the CIA needs to keep the price of cocaine artificially high so that they can spend that money killing and torturing people in secret in other theaters of operation, or what's going on here?
Well, that's the thing. There's a myriad of factors going on, and like in our promo video, you see the farmers on the hill that we're talking with, and that was over. You look at like a big landowner who has their farm, and then peasant farmers all around there with their small parcels. There's subsistence farmers, and the way that the big landowners can increase their yield is to basically suck up all the farms around them. So that's when the paramilitaries come in and basically force people to give up their small parcels, thus increasing the majority landowner's stake. So you've got that going on. So you do have some resource and land stuff, but then also just with the the cocaine trade, we're paying a lot of lip service to what we're doing there. And when you add it all up, when you look at the money and where it's going in the program, it's just not doing what it's, quote, claiming to do.
Yeah. Well, and I apologize because I didn't really phrase my question clearly. What I really was trying to get at was, what's the American government's real interest there? Because it can't just be that, the Moms Against Cocaine Abuse pressure group told them to do this or something. Is it just about selling helicopters, or is it about some corporation wants to steal their water or something, anything, or just selling weapons, or I don't know?
I'm not. I'm not in a position to say for sure, but if you look at the aid we're sending to Colombia doesn't trickle down to the little man. That money is going into helicopters. It's going to fund a very expensive aerial fumigation program. It's going to into a lot of people's hands. So it's taxpayers' dollars that are getting pulled up and sent down and going into companies' hands. There's a lot of money in it.
Right. Yeah, I remember Ron Paul saying that when it comes to the debate about Plan Colombia in Congress, there are no lobbyists there except for, in terms of Mothers Against Cocaine Abuse or whatever. I'm making that up. But there are no, actual, the democracy really wants us to do something about drugs here or anything. It's just lobbyists from Bell Helicopter coming to say, yeah, we got to stop all that cocaine running down in Colombia. You know what? You guys could use some Blackhawks and some Hueys and some machine guns.
Yeah, and if you look at just basic economics, our drug policy in Colombia is all supply based. So we're trying to cut it off at the source, which you look at it, you're talking about artificially inflating the price of cocaine. If you just keep going after supply and don't touch demand at all, you're going to be constantly doing this, and you're raising the price of the commodity, and you're allowing more money to be in it. And that's assuming that you can't even curb production, which we haven't shown we've been able to do.
Right. Well, but not for lack of trying. You explain, and by the way, everybody, again, it's Zack Mellette. The website is giveusnames.com, and I urge you also to look at blog.giveusnames.com. You have some interesting stuff up here, and a lot of it is about the fumigation, as I guess they call it, which means American money being spent not just on, helicopters and paramilitaries, but being spent on, Agent Orange-style poisoning of people's crops from the air.
Yeah, and, you're talking about dropping herbicide on one of the most sensitive ecosystems in the world, the Amazon Basin.
All right, now hold it right there, Zach. We got to take this break. We're going to come back, and we're going to be talking more with Zack Mellette about America's war in Colombia. Look at giveusnames.com, and hang tight.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. My head really hurts. If I don't find a way out of here, I'm gonna go berserkers. I'm crazy and I'm hurt.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. It's Anti-War Radio. I'm Scott Horton. I think this coffee's starting to kick in a little bit here. Talking with Zack Mellette from GiveUsNames.com about America's drug war down in Colombia and really the displacement, the forced relocation of the average nobody in Colombia at the hands of the left-wing radicals, the right-wing radicals, and those who benefit from America's war on drugs down there. And now, so talk to us a little bit here, Zach, about what it means to have American paid-for planes spraying poison on people's crops in Colombia on a regular basis, or how regular of a basis does this even happen?
It's going on really regularly, and we had two guys on the ground the past couple months meeting with some farmers out in really remote areas, and we were actually able to even go in and meet with some farmers, and then they came back to the city, and between them coming back to the city and going back out, a lot of the farmers they were talking with got fumigated, and so we've been able to document that process, pre, during, and we're now watching the post and seeing just what it's doing to a lot of people's legitimate crops.
Well, are they poisoning people with this stuff too?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you're dropping someone off a plane like that, you can't be precise. And there's families that live around their little farms, and we've seen girls who've had facial lesions and skin conditions, almost like a scarring, almost like a chemical burn that they've gotten from this potent chemical that they're spraying. I mean, there's detrimental health effects as well as environmental disaster.
Well, why don't you tell us about some of these people and what effect this has had on them, on an anecdotal basis here, since it seems, might as well be Afghanistan we're talking about here. It's so far away. Nobody here cares, really, unless you give them a reason to, Zach.
Yeah. Well, we look at some of the stuff we're really focusing on is some of these farmers who have the option. Can I grow legitimate crops and feed my family, or should I grow coca and kind of be a slave to some of the drug producers? And it's so tough. You see the average guy just growing his bananas and different and legitimate crops, and then they get fumigated while we're trying to knock out coca. And it usually takes just a matter of months before you can start growing coca, because it's a very resilient crop, as opposed to food crops. It will take several years before the land will be able to produce edible food. So these people are really left with no choice. It's grow coca or let your family starve.
Yeah, we're not talking about giant, agribusiness or something here. Most of these people are living off the land. They don't have anything to sell at the end. This is subsistence farming basically going on here. This is the people that we're driving out off of their own property.
And they have very limited infrastructure, and it's really hard to get legitimate crops to a market that you can sell. And so, our whole war on drugs and all this stuff comes down to really us punishing the little guy who doesn't profit immensely off this stuff. He makes very little money, just enough to feed his family, even if he is growing coca and producing, what turns into cocaine. They're not the ones who make any money off this, but they're the ones who take the brunt of all these policies.
Yeah, well, and as you're saying, the demand in the United States stays the same, regardless of whether people are put in prison for it or not. And it seems like, if they don't want, I guess the market's going to find a way no matter what, but if they, are complaining about particular farmers growing coca, well, they're the ones who make coca that much more expensive to sell than bananas or whatever else they could be growing. And so, it's our policy that gives all the incentive to that lowest level farmer who, as you say, is barely profiting off of the thing anyway. Certainly not the money bags guy. But, we're the ones giving him the incentive to grow coca instead of food in the first place, when we're not poisoning his food in the name of the coca.
Right. I mean, we're virtually leaving him with no choice. I mean, it's starve or grow coca. And, the program doesn't incentivize farmers to do anything but grow coca. It just perpetuates the problem.
So how widespread is the collateral damage when it comes to spraying the coke? I mean, are they even trying, or they don't even care, or they just spray any old thing or any part of the jungle they want, kill everybody's food all the time, or rarely, or half the time? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, the fumigation program is just really shrouded in secrecy, and so there's not any real oversight, over, what the true effects of the fumigations. And that's what we're trying to research and provide is an honest look at what's going on and the effects of the spraying, because it's very, very careless, very thoughtless, just guys flying around in planes wiping out, sides of mountains, with this really, really potent chemical.
Well, how bad is the fallout for the society? I mean, obviously people are being driven out of their homes, driven off of their farms. Are they starving? Are they hungry? Are they dying of, they're in refugee camps, or people are taking them in, or what's happening to these people?
Well, what we see a lot of in Colombia, and not just from the fumigations, but, it is a big aspect, as well as the other causes of displacement that we're looking at, is you'll see these people who farm their whole lives, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of farmers. And once they have their livelihood taken away, either from an armed actor who steals or forces them off the land, or the fumigations that force them off their land as well, they end up going to the cities and looking for ways to make ends meet in the cities. So you see a lot of kind of the shanty towns, shanty camps, and around the city where they just go to try to find work and stuff. And these people aren't trained to do anything in the city. They're not educated typically. They don't have a skill set that can help them make a living in the city. They're farmers, they're campesinos. That's what they've always done.
All right, so now tell us again about this project. Give us names.
Yeah, well, we're basically wanting to use the power of story and media to show the kind of the big problem of displacement in Colombia and break it down on a very personal level. We believe that faces and names hold a lot more power than numbers and statistics, and by personifying the problem and giving you a name that you can relate to and putting a face with the problem, they'll have a lot more impact, and we'll be able to touch people a lot more and make it real.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is thousands of miles away. We want it to be real and feel up close and personal.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big thing of mine is, as everybody's noticed, they never show us pictures of Iran because they're always talking about we might have to bomb them off the face of the earth. So it's better if it's kind of a misshapen shape in our mind, what it looks like on a map rather than what it looks like from eyeball view on the ground. So I think you're absolutely right about the very same effect. I think it's great work that y'all are doing. Everyone, please go check out Zack Mellette and his friends and their work at giveusnames.com. And especially check out their blog. It's good. blog.giveusnames.com. Thanks again.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott.